also think we'd be a lot better off if we actually talked to each other instead of yelling at each other. Let the other side do the yelling.
Yes. They use the words, but they don't know what they mean. Hillary Diane Rodham Clinton once again. It's the First Amendment, you know. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, they love the First Amendment. They're lying when they say that. They're the left. Just wacky people, these people. Hillary Clinton being only one of them, of course. We don't see Hill and Bill together very often, do we? No, we don't. I was looking around today, and I went and I pulled up one of my favorite old stories from the Washington Post about the after-school Satan Club. Washington Post, July 30th, 2016. Boy, that's a long time ago now, and I still remember it like it was a month ago. Amazing Washington Post story. An after-school Satan Club could be coming to your kid's elementary school. And they love it. It's a glowing review by Catherine Stewart at the Washington Post. It's wonderful. The after-school Satan Club. The after-school Satan Club. Yeah, and I was we were playing the audio of Hillary Clinton from Morning Joke this morning, and we were playing Kimmel too, and how Jimmy Kimmel, he's fake because they're the First Amendment, freedom of speech, etc. So it's the FCC, and Hillary Clinton lying like she always does. I didn't know, with all the mean and false things people said about me. People are going to keep saying they'll be mean, but they'll be true.
I've said a million times. I mean, good Lord, the things that have been said about me, the lies that have been propagated. Yeah. If I had only known, I could call up the FCC chair and say, take this person off the air. Get that person out of my sight. Off with his head.
Off with his head. That's what they really think, bloodthirsty ghouls that they are. French Revolution as opposed to the American Revolution. And I said with Jimmy Kimmel pretending to tear up and choke up. Oh, yeah, my satanic paycheck may be withheld if I'm suspended for any longer because the mean FCC, he didn't say anything about the FCC. But then I said, acting is about sincerity, and once you can fake that, you got it made. It turns out the George Burns line was, acting is all about honesty. Honesty, not sincerity. Close enough, though. If you can fake that, you've got it made. And that's acting is all about honesty. And that's Hillary Clinton as sort of an actress, an untalented actress, an untalented politician, and an untalented Secretary of State, an untalented senator. And thank God she never became president, and that Donald Trump single-handedly defeated the two women that the Democrat Party named as nominees for the presidency of the United States, Hillary Clinton and the silly Kamala Harris, and both defeated by the same man in non-consecutive elections, which makes it even more fun, I think. Even more fun. Isn't that great? But, free speech. Now, and then none of these frauds and charlatans at MS-13, NBC, none of them say, well, wait a minute, Hillary, you are famous for lying about everything all the time and being terrible about everything. You lied about the attack in Benghazi, and what was her famous line from Benghazi? What is it? Oh, now I'm supposed to care? Well, something like that. Hillary Clinton and Benghazi. And you're a terrible, awful person.
You famously...
Hey, wait a minute. That's somebody quoting her instead of herself. But and free speech, they're all about free speech, right? First of all, if the head of the FCC suspended Jimmy Kimmel, what was it, last Wednesday or last Thursday, then was it the FCC that put him back on the air? Is that what happened? Because if the federal agency, the Federal Communications Commission, took Jimmy Kimmel off the air, which they didn't, then it would have to be, and they're lying about that. And then he's back on the air. ABC Disney suspended him, and they called it a suspension. And then they put him back on the air last night, even though not all station groups are taking him because some station groups have a sense of public duty and civic responsibility and don't want radical extremist liar propagandists spreading falsehoods over the airwaves under the umbrella of FCC licensing. But never mind that. And of course, they care very deeply about the First Amendment. But I recall the actual administration that Hillary Clinton worked in as Secretary of State, where she had Benghazi and all of that.
The fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. Was it because of a protest, or was it because of guys out for a walk one night who decided they'd go kill some Americans? What difference at this point does it make?
She's a psychopathological liar. It was a radical Islamic terrorist group targeting the embassy facility, murdering the American ambassador and 3 other great and brave Americans. I happen to be a friend of one of the widows of Benghazi, and she's a psychopathological liar and a fraud and a charlatan. And it was her administration under Barack Obama that targeted groups that had the word patriot in their name with the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, and Tea Party groups, and targeted them and denied them their First Amendment rights. The IRS lost in court, and the IRS had to hand over millions and millions of dollars to the Tea Party groups and the Patriot groups because they had denied them their First Amendment rights and illegally and corruptly targeted them using the government agency known as the Internal Revenue Service, because they're the left. They're not liberals. And, by the way, we heard from, Elon Musk bought Twitter and changed its name to X, in large part because we learned that the Obama administration had the FBI and the intelligence people, the so-called intelligence community people, on the phone with Twitter telling them to kill certain conversations, that is, destroying First Amendment rights and freedom of speech, because they're basically communists, and Barack Obama was a Saul Alinskyite, and Hillary Clinton actually worked for Saul Alinsky personally as an intern, and another Alinskyite, and he's a radical leftist activist, Saul Alinsky, who the leftists loved and taught in school like Barack Obama did. And Barack Obama was mentored by a communist named Frank Marshall Davis. And then he uses the FBI, the Justice Department, the IRS, and the so-called intelligence community against the political enemies of the Democratic Party, and denying people First Amendment rights and free speech rights all over the place because they're malignant, cancerous tumors on our body politic, and they're just fine with all of that. Aren't they amazing? And then what did we learn overnight? We learned since I left here yesterday, not only about all of the madness, that the shooting, and we're still waiting for an update out of Dallas on the 3 people shot there, apparently 2 targeted and shot by a sniper, and then the alleged sniper killing himself. But there another great one here from Just the News, John Solomon's great organization. Former FBI agent Peter Strzok. Remember Peter Strzok? This is kind of a big deal. Peter Strzok loses First Amendment case in which he claimed he was illegally fired. Now, he's the guy who is texting out, "You can smell the Trump supporters, and we'll take care of Trump, and we'll make sure that he's not reelected," and whatever he said in his tweets to his girlfriend at the FBI with whom he was having an illicit sexual affair, Lisa Page, in the Xerox room while cheating on his wife because, they're Democrats, and it's all fine. But that's not a problem when it comes to the Democrats. That's all fine. But he's claiming, "You can't fire me. I've got a First Amendment right to undermine the President of the United States and abuse my power at the FBI to target the political enemies of my party." Isn't that amazing? So we've got that going for us. But then we learned last night, by way of a congressional investigation, that the Biden administration, now moving forward from the Obama administration, abusing their power, their influence, the government power, the power of the state, which is not what happened with Jimmy Kimmel, not at all what happened with Jimmy Kimmel. But we learned from the House of Representatives and the House Judiciary Committee yesterday at judiciary.house.gov, Google admits censorship under Biden. Promises to end bans of YouTube accounts of thousands of Americans censored for political speech. Now, this came out yesterday, and it's not in the Washington Post because they're not a news organization. They're a Democrat Party front group, and the Democrat Party is the left, and they very much want to deny First Amendment rights and free speech rights to all of their political enemies, and everybody is their political enemy if you're not goose-stepping with them with your hobnailed boots on the cobblestone streets. Today, thanks to the oversight chairman, Congressman Jim Jordan, the Ohio Republican, the Google organization, they control the algorithms, and the left has controlled the algorithms, and you still see it every day. I see it every single day, the corruption of the algorithms for Googling things, for searching things. I like DuckDuckGo, and still that's been corrupted because it goes back to the shared algorithms. But Google yesterday commits to offering all creators previously kicked off of YouTube due to political speech violations on topics such as COVID-19 and elections an opportunity to return to the platform. Well, wait a minute, because if you said that wearing masks, the surgical masks that you wear, that germs go right through there, they would ban you. If you said the 6-foot distancing, 6-foot separation doesn't actually prevent the virus from being communicated, then they banned you. If you said getting a vaccine did not mean that you would never get COVID-19 and did not mean that you weren't contagious when you got COVID-19, all of that is true. But if you posted that online, the Biden administration was making sure through the government power that Google and YouTube were banning you. Now, those are actual deprivations of First Amendment rights, of free speech rights, unlike Jimmy Kimmel being suspended by ABC and not by the FCC. And again, shouldn't they be thanking the FCC for putting Jimmy Kimmel back on the air? The reason they're not doing that is because that didn't happen either. And these psychopaths lie all the time. So the House committee, the Judiciary Committee, also adding to a public statement yesterday, Google also admitted to the following when in discussions with the House of Representatives Judiciary Committee. The Biden administration pressured Google to censor Americans and remove content that did not violate YouTube's policies. Now, wait a minute. YouTube has policies, and they were banning people based on their policies. But when the YouTube wasn't banning them, the Biden administration pressured Google to make sure that YouTube banned people. Now, that is Hitler. That is Nazi. That is fascist. That is communist. I'm just trying to trot out the words here because they taught me how to do this, and I know how to do this now. The Biden administration censorship pressured, their pressure was unacceptable and wrong. That's the Judiciary Committee. The public debate should never come at the expense of relying on authorities to say you can say this but not that. And that's what these fascists have done. Well, they call everybody else fascist. And the company says they will never use third-party fact-checkers, which was required by the Democrat Party, which Hillary Clinton is a charter member, and the Biden administration, and on and on. Now, and they also note that Europe's censorship laws target American companies and threaten American speech, including the removal of lawful content. And we just learned that yesterday. Kind of a big deal. Now, I get hungry every time I read this head. From handcrafted steaks to delicious fall favorites, Omaha Steaks delivers the world's best steak experience. And right now, during their Red Hot Sale event, you can get 50% off the entire website at omahasteaks.com. Plus, because you hang out with me, our listeners get another $35 off your order with the promo code PLANT at checkout. That's PLANTE. There's nothing like getting a hankering for a steak dinner, remembering you've got Omaha Steaks in the fridge. My best girl My best girl and I, we love the Omaha Steaks filet mignons. Had one just the other night with our delicious potatoes and the hash browns and the green vegetables. We sear them up in my grandfather's iron skillet that's being seasoned now for about 70 years. Every steak is perfectly aged to maximize tenderness, and then they're hand-cut by master butchers in America's heartlands. Omaha Steaks, I'm telling you, they carry mouth-watering burgers and chicken and porks and seafood and delicious desserts, too. And, right now you got fired up for fall grilling with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com. You're going to get 50% off the entire website during their Red Hot Sale event. And for an extra $35 off at checkout, use the promo code PLANT. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com. Another $35 off with the promo code PLANT at checkout. I'm going to do it myself. See omahasteaks.com for details. All right, we've also got, I keep botching this, but it's mailbag day too. And we've got that coming up. Well, as promised, I have an update for you out of Dallas, Texas, and there is a big update. We had for you the reporting out of Dallas that 3 people had been shot, including the gunman. That 2 people were shot, and the initial reports said that they were detainees and not ICE officers or ICE agents, and that the third person was the assassin, the sniper, who died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. And now the update, now the briefing has started in Texas. 4 people, total of 4 people shot, total of 2 people killed, including, I believe, still the shooter by way of self-inflicted gunshot wound. But he shot 3 people and killed 1. But that's not where the fascinating part ends. It turns out the killer wrote messages on the bullets, anti-ICE messages, which is reminiscent of the Charlie Kirk assassin with his transgender messages on the bullets.
I can confirm at this time that the FBI is investigating this incident as an act of targeted violence. It is unfortunately just the most recent example we've seen of targeted violence, to include here in North Texas, where back on July 4th, we saw a coordinated attack carried out against an immigration detention center in Alvarado,
ICE,
Texas.
Democrats.
What I can also share with you is that early evidence that we've seen from rounds that were found near the suspected shooter contain messages that are anti-ICE in nature.
Messages on the bullets that are anti-ICE, presumably on the shell casings, found near the suspected shooter, who we believe to be dead by his own hand. This is a pattern for the Democratic Party. Now, in Dallas, the press conference being held there, Joshua Johnson came out to speak, and he teed up the great Senator Ted Cruz, who always speaks well. And, I'm grateful for that. But it turns out that the gunman, who apparently another suicide attack by the Democrats, the Democrat Party vilifying and demonizing immigration and customs enforcement, violently attacking immigration and customs enforcement all over the country, and recently in Texas at another location, also doing it in Portland, Oregon, Sanctuary City, violent attacks by the Violent Left, which is a criminal organization, a murderous criminal organization. And now we learn that the gunman shot 3 people, murdering 1, wounding 2 more, and then killing himself, apparently. And they found shell casings by him, onto which he wrote messages that were anti-ICE messages. They still are anti-ICE messages. And Charlie Kirk's assassin, you may remember, wrote messages on the shell casings as well, which were about his transgender boyfriend and other lunatic left messages on the bullets. Now, the Democrats have made it a trend. They made a trend of targeting ICE and targeting law enforcement and vilifying and demonizing and shooting. They've created a pattern here, and now we have the latest episode this morning, Dallas, Texas, a sniper opening fire on an ICE facility, apparently not even wounding, I'm signing the cross, any law enforcement, but shooting, the initial report said, 2 detainees. That would be illegal aliens. Now we're hearing 3 were actually shot by the sniper before he turned the gun on himself and killed himself, knowing that his bullets, the shell casings, with the anti-ICE messages on the shell casings, would be there and would be found by law enforcement. So let's go to the updated audio from the press conference in Dallas that just wrapped up.
The takeaway from all of this is that the rhetoric has to stop. There are people out there who are seeing what is being placed online, and they're coming and they're doing acts of violence against ICE employees.
Joshua Johnson of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and he's talking about the Democratic Party's rhetoric, the anti-ICE rhetoric, from the highest levels of the Democrat Party. And a bitter and rancorous Hillary Clinton was on her ankles this morning on MSDNC, railing about a lie that they're spreading about the First Amendment being under attack by the FCC, which did not suspend Jimmy Kimmel, nor did the FCC reinstate Jimmy Kimmel, but ABC and Disney did suspend Jimmy Kimmel and then reinstated Jimmy Kimmel, the FCC having virtually nothing to do with it, but Hillary Clinton is a pathological liar. And maybe they should be talking about another technically a mass shooting, even though one of them is him shooting himself. A mass shooting is 4 people or more. And the killer assassinated, murdered someone with a rifle, wounded 2 more people, then killed himself and left the clues at the scene of the crime with his messages on the shell casings, which the Democrat Party has now made a fad. Now it's a trend, right? Now Ted Cruz was there, and Ted Cruz always speaks well. Senator Ted Cruz from Texas.
This needs to stop. Violence is wrong. Politically motivated violence is wrong. It was 2 weeks ago today that we saw a political assassination in Utah that tore the heart out of much of this country. This is the 3rd shooting in Texas directed at ICE or CBP. This must stop. To every politician who is using rhetoric demonizing ICE and demonizing CBP, stop.
Sounds like what the Democrat Party leadership should be saying.
To every politician demanding that ICE agents be doxxed and calling for people to go after their families, stop.
That's what the Democrats are doing.
This has very real consequences. Look, in America, we disagree. That's fine. That's the democratic process. But your political opponents are not Nazis. We need to learn to work together without demonizing each other, without attacking each other. And I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to the brave men and women of law enforcement. I want to say thank you to the brave men and women of ICE and CBP and everyone who puts their lives on the line to keep us safe.
The people that the Democrat Party vilifies and demonizes and makes the targets of the crazy people.
The divisive rhetoric tragically has real consequences. I hope that every one of us will pray, number one, for the safety of law enforcement that are risking their lives to keep us safe. Number two, for the health of those who were shot and injured today. We still don't know the full details of who was injured, but for the families also of the victims of this shooting. Violence has no place. It is wrong. And we should come together. If we want to have a debate about immigration policies, we can do so in the halls of Congress without demonizing each other, and especially without demonizing the men and women who every day put on a badge and go risk their lives to keep us safe.
The people that the Democrat Party has turned into the villains and the bad guys of the story, and that's why they're being targeted, and that's why they're being killed, and that's why Charlie Kirk was shot and murdered. And that's what the Democrat Party is doing to our political discourse. And note that Ted Cruz's rhetoric is perfectly typical and ordinary for Republicans, Republican members of Congress and Republicans everywhere. And look at the Charlie Kirk Memorial Service on Sunday. Honestly, the ammunition has messages. There were several rounds of unused ammo found. The FBI and Kash Patel have already released a photograph of the ammo found on the, looks like 5 rounds of high velocity, like hunting rifle or combat rifle rounds of ammunition, much like we've seen the Democrats using of late. And anti-ICE messages you can see in the photograph released by the FBI and by Kash Patel, not waiting 2 years to release the photographs from the crime scenes. And honestly, now, the sniper was on a rooftop, Dallas ICE facility, 1 victim dead, 2 more injured. The gunman dead. He's an anti-ICE Democrat Party activist and, an act of targeted violence. It's not terrorism. I think it's terrorism. Sounds like terrorism to me. A deadly shooting at an ICE facility near downtown Dallas is believed to have been a targeted incident. No kidding. CNN types on behalf of the Democrat Party. According to the head of the FBI field office in Dallas, I can confirm at this time that the FBI is investigating this as an incident of targeted violence, said Special Agent in Charge Joe Rothrock. Joe Rothrock. Good name. Yesterday we had Secret Service agent Matt McCool, M-C-C-O-O-L, Matt McCool. And now we've got Joe Rothrock. But never mind that. Early evidence that we've seen from the rounds found near the suspected shooter contains messages that are anti-ICE in nature, right? We've got that going on. Ted Cruz at the scene of the crime.
We should not be putting language out there that inspires madmen to commit evil crimes. Our prayers are with the men and women of law enforcement, and we ought to come together and have some decency across the political aisle to say this violence is wrong and it needs to stop.
Now, Hillary Clinton was on Morning Joke this morning on MS-13 DNC, and President Trump was at the United Nations yesterday. The security threat posture for that event must have been off the charts. And Hillary Clinton, and he was the leftist there, shut down the escalator as soon as Melania Trump stepped on the escalator. You could take a tumble, and nothing's harder than an escalator, steel and jagged and sharp and all that. And President Trump, then the teleprompter didn't work because the authoritarian fascist Nazi Democrats and leftists at the United Nations were sabotaging, as the Telegraph it was the Times out of London on Sunday said that people at the United Nations said they were going to shut down the escalators and the elevators when Trump got there. Then he got there and they shut down the escalator as soon as Melania Trump set foot on it with President Trump close behind. Then they shut down the teleprompter because they're communist pig dogs and we should kick the United Nations out of the United States before the sun goes down tonight. And here's Hillary Clinton, fascist Nazi that she is, this morning calling President Trump more names. Was this before or after the shooting in Texas? Right in that wheelhouse. Hillary Diane.
Free speech. Mm-hmm. Jimmy Kimmel is the latest flashpoint. How dangerous do you view that moment to be?
I view it as very dangerous. It is right out of the authoritarian playbook, Willie. Right. I mean, this is, this is point 4 of the authoritarian playbook.
She doesn't know when to laugh because she's not a natural person by any stretch of the imagination. I've been talking, and then the news started breaking, and we have, and I feel like a dope. We have our mailbag questions right here, and because of the breaking news out of Dallas and press conference and everything else going on in the United Nations last night, I'm going to have to move these to Thursday, have to move them to tomorrow, and I feel like a big dope, and Jasmine's making faces at me because she knows that I keep doing this, and it's all my fault. And she's right, and I apologize, but we'll get to them. We'll get to them tomorrow. Now, with that said, let's take another phone because I don't have time to do it justice. I've only got 5 minutes, and I have a lot of questions here that I want to get to. We've been talking about all morning during the breaks and so on. But. Yes, sir. Also, I didn't get to this one since the Democrats are going around, and Hillary with her authoritarianism. Well, I think Charlie Kirk being assassinated by one of your filthies is kind of authoritarianism. I think you're having a mimic go and assassinate one person and wound two more, and then kill himself. Another suicide attack, by the way, by the left, with the anti-ICE messages written on the ammunition, which the FBI under Kash Patel has already released photographs of the ammunition, and that's good. But I brought this story in with me today, too. Erica Kirk, the widow of Charlie Kirk, with two little children, 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, a boy and a girl. Erica Kirk, genuinely rattled, in quotation marks, genuinely rattled, after Jezebel, this is a left-wing website on Al Gore's Amazing Internet, Jezebel paid witches, see, that witches, because they have after-school Satan Club, that's a Democrat Party thing, they worship Satan, dog is their co-pilot, and Erica Kirk genuinely rattled, this is the New York Post now, it all started with Megyn Kelly, actually, after Jezebel paid witches on Etsy. Etsy is an online, you can buy stupid things that you don't need. Etsy, to curse her husband, Charlie, 2 days before he was assassinated. Now, grieving widow Erica Kirk was genuinely rattled after feminist website Jezebel published an unsettling story bragging about how the author of the article paid witches, self-described witches, on Etsy to curse her husband, Charlie, just 2 days before the conservative icon was assassinated, Megyn Kelly revealed on Tuesday. That was last night. Megyn Kelly ripped the lefty outlet for publishing the vile article, which left the couple shaken and seeking prayer from a Catholic priest the night before the right-wing influencer was gunned down in Utah on September 10th. Now, Megyn Kelly, formerly of Fox News, now has her own online presence, which is gigantic. And I always liked Megyn Kelly myself, personally. I used to be on her show a lot, too. And Megyn Kelly said, this is what I want you all the people at Jezebel and Etsy to know. All right? Erica and Charlie Kirk heard about these curses, and that news genuinely rattled Erica in particular. She knew Christian teaching on the subject and loved Charlie, absolutely, and she was scared when she heard of the curses Jezebel had called up. The twisted September 8th Jezebel article slammed the 31-year-old Turning Point USA founder as a far-right misogynist. Yeah, he's a misogynist. And they call him every name in the book, but they're all the usual Democrat Party names, aren't they? And just amazing stuff. So they targeted Jezebel, left-wing, feminists, they say. Any lesbian ties, because usually LGBT when you find yourself in this place. And they hired witches, people that self-describe as witches, to put a curse on Charlie Kirk 2 days before he was assassinated by the transgender-loving assassin, right? And isn't that amazing? And 2 days later, the alleged assassin, Tyler Robinson, 22, fired a single shot bullet that pierced the father of two's neck while he spoke to thousands during the first stop on his America's Comeback Tour in Utah Valley University in Orem. I got to say, so the creepy, and again, that's why I pulled my story from the Washington Post about after-school Satan Club from a couple of years ago. And now, wait a minute, this nice Christian family called in a Catholic priest. They're not Catholic, but they called in a Catholic priest because they found this disturbing effort by the Democrat Party, by the left, to hire witches, self-described witches, to put a curse on Charlie, and then hours later he was assassinated. This will inspire them to do more of the same, I promise you. So this Democrat sniper wrote anti-ICE on one of the rounds of ammunition and other anti-ICE messages. It's a suicide attack, and there have been a lot of Democrat Party suicide attacks, from the Israeli embassy and the self-immolations to the car bomb at the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas, a suicide attack, to the suicide attacks on the police in Dallas, 9 murdered, had to send a robot in with a bomb to blow up that suicide attacker. It goes on and on. This was another sniper on another rooftop with more messages on the shell casings. 3 people injured, 1 shot and killed, at least 1 shot and wounded. 3rd may have been wounded by other means. And then the killer committed suicide and left the evidence there for everyone to find. There were more bullets he had. And it looks like he accidentally killed 2 of the detainees, shooting up an ICE van coming in with ICE agents in the van. And he was obviously trying to kill the ICE agents, but he wasn't a very good shot. And he shot through the back of the van, and 2 detainees were killed by the sniper, right? And that's all perfectly normal. Now, I was just telling you, this is what the Democrat Party is making normal: political violence everywhere, and suicidal death cultists, snipers, leaving messages on bullets. These are all Democrat Party characteristics. And Hillary Clinton is bitterly and angrily denouncing the FCC because she doesn't understand anything that's going on around her, because the FCC didn't suspend Jimmy Kimmel, and the FCC didn't reinstate Jimmy Kimmel. ABC and Disney did, and Hillary and all the people at MSDNC lie to everyone. Not very many people, fortunately. Isn't that amazing? And we've got that going for us, I got to say. And, maybe this guy, I don't think he was angry about Jimmy Kimmel, was he? Did he write anything about Jimmy Kimmel on the... Because my friend Danny says maybe he was angry at Kimmel. Hard to say. I don't think so. But isn't that amazing? Oh, and also I wanted to mention, since we were just talking about Megyn Kelly and the Satan thing, Megyn Kelly is speaking at the Turning Point USA gathering tonight, I believe, at Virginia Tech, where my best girl and I were last weekend for their football game. Isn't that amazing? Also, Michael Piercy remembered that a couple of years ago, the Satanists, the witches, were after President Trump, and they said that that wasn't working on him. He was shielded.